Brett Okamoto, UFC 290 Fight Week with Dricus Du Plessis, who takes on Robert Whittaker this weekend. I feel like, man, every time I talk to you, it's right here in Vegas. You feel pretty at home in Vegas at this point in your career? It seems like, the big moments of your career have been here in Sin City.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is my fifth fight in Vegas and my third international fight week. So, yeah, it's basically become a second home and definitely they say the fight capital of the world. And it's absolutely great to be here and feeling comfortable. Once you get to know a certain arena and, the crowd, just the vibe, then, everything becomes a little bit easier.
Yeah. And this is kind of a cliche question, but have each of them, are you one of those guys who can make them all feel sort of the same, or do they each feel a little differently? Do the magnitude seem to build as they get bigger, or do they feel pretty similar from time to time?
For me, the magnitude of my fights never differ. Fighting Robert Whittaker and making my debut for me was all the same, because without winning that one, I wouldn't be at this one. I always see it that way, and same with my fights prior to UFC. Every single fight to me is the most important fight of my life. So, in that way, everything feels the same. But every time I arrive in Vegas, I just realize once again, and I see the T-Mobile Arena, I just realize how massive it is, and I just see, as you see the billboards, everything, and I'm just like, wow, this is so incredible, flying to the United States, coming to Vegas, and coming to do work. It's incredible, and I really enjoy that moment every single time when I see it, and I realize this is what we're doing here. It feels amazing. And, with a fight like this, just a little bit more media, just a little bit more fans, a little bit more hype, and every time I enjoy it more. So it's great.
Just the challenge itself too, though. I mean, everybody knows what Rob represents in this sport. He's lost to Izzy twice, but this guy's a champion. He's beaten everybody else in the divisions, and this is I like hearing you talk about like that's the guy I want to fight. Like, that's the challenge that I want. So, have you felt that at all? Has that put any kind of hyper focus in you, or just kind of another set of nerves, just knowing that that's the guy, that's the challenge that you're going up against this week?
Yeah, I think I always have my opponent, even though they don't dictate how I train or how I plan my fight. Definitely, you watch tape and you see little mistakes, you see little things that do good, and you keep that in the back of your mind. But when I prepare for fights, I focus on what I want to do. But when you're fighting a guy like Robert Whittaker, there's one shift that you need to make, and you have to realize that mentally you have to be a steel cage. You have to be unpenetrable, because one crink in the armor of your mentality, you're going to be in big trouble. Whittaker has seen it all, done it all. He is a legend in the sport, and I've had a fight very early in my career. I think it was my third fight where I faced a legend, somebody that I probably shouldn't have fought at that stage on short notice. And I said, he is a legend, and after this fight, beating a guy like that is what will make me a legend one day. And this is exactly what I'm going out to do in this fight. Going up against crazy odds, fighting a guy who hasn't lost to anybody but the champion in a decade, and be the guy to beat him.
Yeah. Have you had to, the role that any kind of doubt has played in this preparation, or even just coming here to Vegas? Have you had to sort of push away doubt in a way that maybe you haven't in the past, or has it been about the same?
So, I mean, when I got the fight, this fight was made in 2 minutes, I think, maybe. I woke up, I saw a couple of missed calls from my agent, and immediately I called him back, and he said, Whittaker is the fight they want to do, and I said, perfect, let's do it. And immediately wow, that's crazy. I mean, in that moment, you're not prepared, you're not, in the best physical shape, and mentally, you haven't even taken this, you haven't processed this. So immediately said yes. The process started of preparing for this guy. This guy that's in the back of your mind, the guy that you're preparing for the next 2 months of your life, is 100% dedicated to beating this guy. And the way I feel right now, there's absolutely no doubt, because any and all doubt that I've ever had is killed by preparation, and I'm more prepared for this than anything I've ever been prepared for.
Did you ever think at all in your life that you would you would answer so many questions about your nose?
Man, that was crazy. And people love to go and say, listen, so now that your nose is fixed, are we going to see a different fight? I'm like, probably not. I'm just going to maybe not look so tired. Well, I hope so. Let's see. But I'm sleeping better. I'm more comfortable. And my nose is, the big problem came in with the airflow as soon as I started breathing heavily, and that's why I always was breathing through my mouth, and it was so evident. It wasn't something that was made up. You could see it so clearly. And that's shallow breaths, and it causes hyperventilation. And there's only one way to find out how big of a difference it's going to make, and that is by watching the fight on Saturday. And I believe that, I'm still going to be tired, because if you look at the numbers that I put out, anybody's going to be tired, because I go out there and the output is insane.
Yeah.
But, this is going to definitely help me in that minute rest. And when the pace slows down a little to get that oxygen, get that airflow in, I'm looking forward, and maybe not, looking so tired.
I wonder if you almost have to retrain yourself how to breathe, dude. And you're out there and you're in the moment. If you'll just start breathing through your mouth again, because that's what you've always done.
Yeah, 100%, and that makes a lot of sense, because I've had this problem for quite some time. So we obviously spend a lot of time since the surgery to do the exercise. Get that breathing exercise into, because like you say, if it's a habit of breathing through your mouth, then it's. Even though your nose is fixed, you're not just going to start breathing through your nose. So we definitely spend a lot of time on making sure that I start using my nose. It doesn't help it's fixed, but I'm not using it. So
sounds like a weird thing, but it makes sense.
Yeah, and even in the beginning when that happened, like I would realize, listen, my nose can breathe perfectly, but I'm still breathing through my mouth. And we just had the exercise, and we started seeing great results with that.
Yeah. What kind of pace do you think Rob likes to fight at? Like, I know you come in, you say, ref, get out of the way. I want to fight at a high pace. What pace does Rob like to set?
I think Rob is fine at matching a pace, but just for a short period of time. And then Rob, if you let him settle into his fight, you can see it with a lot of his fights. If you look at the Marvin Vettori fight, where he absolutely obliterated him. In the first round, it wasn't, even in the first half of the second, it wasn't like Whittaker, he was winning the fight, but he wasn't destroying Vettori. He was fighting, and he was definitely landing more, but it wasn't significant. And it was almost like, when because Vettori was trying to implement his game plan, almost as when Rob started catching him, Vettori almost started shelling away. And that's when Rob, fighting at his pace, yes, he's shying away from a high pace ever, but he fights at his terms. So he'll hit you and he'll move. He'll make sure that he's running around. When he's ready, he's striking. Mm-hmm. So, Rob's pace is his own pace, and that's what I'm here to do is, making sure that we fight at my pace, because yes, I do get tired, but try and not get tired when you're fighting at that pace.
I know obviously you're focused completely on Robert Whittaker, but do you almost expect that at some point in this week, some point in this UFC 290 experience, that Israel is going to become part of your story, is going to come into your focus at some point? It's almost inevitable. Are you kind of expecting that in some way?
My focus, no. But is he going to be part of the story? Most certainly. He'll make sure of that. I'm assuming that he'll try and make, get some airtime off this, and, make sure that the hype is there for whoever wins this fight. But focus, there's no way you can take any of my focus off Robert Whittaker. Adesanya, right now, he's an afterthought and a pre-thought even. So I'm not even considering the fact that I'm fighting Israel Adesanya. I'm considering only one fact, and that's that I'm beating Robert Whittaker.
How fast do you think that'll change? If you get the job done, and especially if you get it done in spectacular fashion and he's there, how fast do you think that'll...
So I'm going to win and jump on that cage like I always do, and that thought will be in my mind even before I touch the top of that cage.
I bet, man. Well, it's a fantastic fight. Can't wait to see it. Best of luck, man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Dricus.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.